I never imagined I'd find myself trapped in a love triangle, but here I am, caught between two hearts, both pulling me in opposite directions. The tension started subtly, small moments, glances, and conversations that made me question everything I thought was certain. It began with Alex, someone I met through mutual friends. From the start, there was an undeniable spark, easy laughter, shared secrets, and a comfort that felt rare and intoxicating. Every moment with Alex felt like an escape from the ordinary. Then came Jamie, the quiet soul with eyes that seemed to see right through me. Meeting Jamie was unexpected. Our connection grew slowly, almost painfully, but with a depth that unsettled me. It was different from the lightness I felt with Alex, deeper, heavier, and somehow more real. As weeks passed, I found myself navigating between these two worlds. With Alex, spontaneity and joy. With Jamie, calm and understanding. I told myself I could handle it, that I could keep both at arm's length and avoid hurting anyone. But feelings aren't things you can neatly compartmentalize. They have a habit of breaking through the walls you build, flooding your mind and heart without permission. I was drowning in these emotions, unable to choose and terrified of the consequences. One night the inevitable happened. Alex confronted me, eyes shining with hurt and confusion. The words spilled out, questions, accusations, and a raw vulnerability I hadn't expected. That conversation shattered the fragile balance I'd maintained. Jamie's reaction was quieter, but just as painful. The silence between us grew thick, filled with unspoken disappointment and the slow realization that things were changing irrevocably. I could feel the weight of every decision pressing down on me. Choosing felt impossible. Each person held a piece of my heart, and I feared that picking one meant losing part of myself. But I knew I couldn't keep living in this limbo, pretending that the choice wasn't tearing me apart inside. The day I made my decision, the air was heavy with dread. I remember the small cafe where it all came to a head, the way the sunlight filtered through the windows, casting long shadows across the table. I was shaking, words caught in my throat. I told Alex first. Their face crumbled, a mixture of disbelief and pain washing over them like a storm. I saw the hope drain from their eyes, replaced by something cold and distant. It was like watching a part of us die right there. Then I turned to Jamie, whose quiet patience had been my anchor. Relief flickered briefly across their face before settling into a cautious optimism. But beneath it all, I sensed the fragile thread of trust that might break at any moment. In the days that followed, the aftermath was brutal. Alex stopped calling, stopped texting, becoming a ghost in my life. Jamie stayed close, but with a new wariness, like they were holding their breath, waiting for me to falter again. I tried to convince myself it was the right choice, that I had picked the person who truly understood me, but nights were the hardest, those long, lonely hours when regret crept in, whispering doubts and fears that I couldn't silence. I replayed every moment with Alex, every laugh and touch, wondering if I missed something crucial. Was I too quick to decide? Could I have done things differently? The questions haunted me, relentless and unforgiving. Meanwhile, Jamie's quiet presence was both a comfort and a reminder of what I'd left behind. Their gentle touch sometimes soothed the ache, but it also made me realize how fragile our rebuilt foundation was, always shadowed by the past. Friends noticed the change in me, the way my smiles became forced and my eyes carried a hint of sadness. I tried to hide it, but the cracks were too deep to cover. Love, I learned, can be as painful as it is beautiful. I started writing again, pouring my tangled emotions onto paper, hoping to make sense of the chaos inside. The words were messy and raw, reflecting the storm raging in my heart. It was my only outlet, my way to survive the aftermath. One evening, as rain poured outside, I found myself scrolling through old messages with Alex. The conversations were filled with promises and dreams we once shared. A sharp ache hit me, realizing those moments were gone, like grains of sand slipping through my fingers. Jamie sensed my turmoil and reached out quietly, offering a hand to hold through the darkness. Their presence was steady, a reminder that healing was possible even when the scars were fresh. But I wasn't sure if I was ready to move forward yet. Every day felt like walking a tightrope between hope and despair. I wanted to believe in second chances and new beginnings, but the guilt of my choice clung to me like a shadow, whispering that I'd betrayed not just Alex, but myself. Then came the unexpected, a message from Alex, tentative and cautious. They didn't ask for answers or explanations, just wanted to know if I was okay. That single question opened a floodgate of emotions I thought I'd buried deep. I hesitated, fingers trembling over the keyboard. Responding meant reopening old wounds, but ignoring it felt like cutting off a part of my own history. I typed a simple reply, hoping it was enough to bridge the distance without causing more pain. The days that followed were filled with quiet conversations and tentative steps toward understanding. It wasn't about rekindling what we had, but about finding peace with the past and forgiving the mistakes we both made. Meanwhile, Jamie and I navigated our new reality, learning to communicate with honesty and patience. The road was rocky, filled with moments of doubt and frustration, but also glimpses of something genuine growing between us. I realized that love isn't always about perfect choices or clear paths. Sometimes it's messy, complicated, and full of contradictions. And sometimes the hardest part is living with the choices we regret and finding a way forward anyway. One night under a sky heavy with stars, I sat alone and thought about the tangled web of emotions that had brought me here. The pain, the joy, the heartbreak, all parts of a story still unfolding, with no clear ending in sight. I know I'll never forget the lessons this love triangle taught me about myself, about trust, and about the courage it takes to face the consequences of the heart. But I also know the journey isn't over, and the next chapter is waiting to be written. Sometimes I catch myself wondering what life would have been like if I'd chosen differently. Would the pain have been less? Would happiness have come easier? Those questions linger, unanswered but always present, like echoes in a quiet room. For now, I'm learning to live with the regrets, to embrace the imperfect choices that shape us. Love is never simple, and sometimes it's not about finding the perfect answer, but about surviving the questions that haunt us. The story of my love triangle isn't over. It's a complex tapestry of human emotions, joy, pain, hope, and heartbreak. And while I can't change the past, I'm still here, still trying to find my way through the tangled mess of my heart. I share this not for sympathy, but because I know so many of us have stood at that crossroads, torn between two loves, desperate to choose without losing ourselves. Maybe, in sharing my story, we can find some comfort in knowing we're not alone. Sometimes, love is about making choices that break us, but also teach us how to rebuild. It's about the messy, painful, beautiful process of healing and learning to trust again, even when the future feels uncertain. And so I keep moving forward, step by step, heart still fragile but hopeful. Because love, in all its forms, is worth fighting for, even when the fight leaves scars we never expected. I don't know what comes next. Maybe there will be more heartbreak, or maybe a new kind of happiness. But I do know this: every choice, every regret, every moment of doubt has shaped me into who I am today, and that's a story I'm still telling. As the days turn into months, I've begun to see the beauty in the chaos. The love triangle that once felt like a trap now feels like a painful but necessary part of my journey, a chapter full of lessons, tears, and perhaps, one day, forgiveness. I still think about Alex and Jamie, each in their own way, sometimes with a smile, sometimes with a tear. They were both mirrors reflecting parts of me I hadn't fully understood until I had to choose between them. The future feels like an open road with twists and turns I can't predict. But maybe that's the point, not to have all the answers, but to keep moving forward with an open heart and a willingness to face whatever comes next. I hope that by sharing my story, others who find themselves caught in the painful web of love triangulation can find a small spark of hope, that even in the darkest moments, there's a way through if only we dare to keep walking. So here I am, still standing in the middle of this complicated triangle, still learning how to navigate the messy terrain of love, regret, and forgiveness. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for now. Because love isn't about perfection or easy choices. It's about the courage to face our mistakes and the strength to keep loving, even when it hurts more than we ever imagined. I don't have all the answers, and I'm not sure I ever will. But I do know that the story of my love triangle is far from over, and somewhere in the uncertainty lies the chance for healing, growth, and maybe, someday, peace. Until then, I'll keep telling this story, not as a tale of failure, but as a testament to the complicated, beautiful, and sometimes heartbreaking nature of love itself. And maybe that's the greatest lesson of all, that love, with all its twists and turns, is worth every moment of pain and every choice we regret. So here I am, sharing my story, hoping it resonates with someone out there who knows exactly what it feels like to stand at the crossroads of love, to face the impossible choice, and to live with the consequences that follow. Because in the end, we're all just trying to find our way back to ourselves, through every heartbreak, every regret, and every imperfect decision that shapes our hearts. And that journey, as messy and painful as it can be, is what makes us human. It's what makes love real. I'll keep walking this path, uncertain but hopeful, carrying my regrets like scars that remind me I survived, and that maybe, just maybe, I'll find love again in a way I never expected. The story isn't finished. It's still unfolding, one day at a time. And as I look ahead, I realize that sometimes the hardest choices teach us the most about who we are and who we want to become. So I hold on to that thought, fragile as it is, and keep moving forward, one step, one breath, one heartbeat at a time. Because love is messy, complicated, and sometimes filled with regrets, but it's also the thing that keeps us reaching for something better. And that's a story worth telling, even if the ending isn't clear yet. Because in the middle of the chaos, there's always hope. And sometimes, that's enough to keep us going. I don't know where this path will lead, but I'm ready to find out. One choice at a time. One moment at a time. And maybe, just maybe, one day I'll look back on this story not with regret, but with understanding. Until then, I'll keep moving forward. Because love isn't about finding the perfect answer, it's about living with the imperfect ones. And learning to forgive ourselves along the way. That's the journey I'm on now. And somehow, that feels like enough. Even when the nights are long and the heart aches with what might have been. Because love's complexity is what makes it real. And I'm still here, still open, still willing. To love, to lose, to learn, and to live. That's my story. And it's far from over. So I keep breathing, keep hoping, and keep loving, imperfectly, painfully, beautifully. Because that's what it means to be human. And that's what it means to be alive. Caught in the middle of a love triangle, I learned that sometimes the hardest choices lead us to the deepest truths. And that sometimes, regret is just the price we pay for having loved at all. But I'm still here, still standing, still hoping for what's next. Because the story of love is never simple. It's messy, unpredictable, and full of surprises. And I'm ready to face whatever comes next, with an open heart and a soul that's been tested but never broken. The choice I regret has changed me, shaped me, and taught me more than I ever expected. But it hasn't defined me. I'm more than my mistakes, more than the broken pieces of a love that couldn't be. I'm still whole, still hopeful, and still searching for the kind of love that lasts. And maybe, just maybe, that journey is the most important part of all. So here I stand, heart open and eyes forward, ready to write the next chapter of my story. One filled with courage, honesty, and the messy, beautiful truth of loving and being loved. Because in the end, that's what makes life worth living. And that's what keeps me moving forward, despite the regrets, despite the pain, despite the uncertainty. Love is complicated, but it's also the reason I'm still here, still hoping, still dreaming. And that's a story worth sharing.